Hey, this is Philip Vandervossen with Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and I am still here at Overland Expo Mountain West, and I have found the BFGoodrich booth. And today we're going to talk about tires, specifically airing down your tires. And we've got Tim Cromer from BFGoodrich, who's an expert on this, and he's going to tell us all about how, when, why you air down your tires when you go off-road.
So good morning. So we're going to talk a little bit about airing down your tires. We're going to talk about why you're going to do it. We're going to talk about when you're going to do it, and then answer a little bit more of the question of kind of what things you need to pay attention to when figuring out how low you can go on the tire. So what I've got here is the BFGoodrich Mud Terrain KM3. This is a DOT tire. What we're going to do is, so on the Super Duty here, if I was going to go on a trail, let's say it's just a fire road, and this truck calls for 65 pounds in the rear, 60 in the front. If I go do that and I'm hitting a lot of washboards, if I'm hitting gravel, that sort of thing, I'm just going to fill that the whole way through the truck. And so if I can let some of that air out, what it does is it actually gives a little bit of springier or cushionier ride because the sidewall isn't as stiff, and so you have that flexibility with it. So that's one reason why you would do it. The next reason is if you were going to something a little bit heavier duty or a little bit more aggressive than a fire road, and you've got some rocks that you need to work around, climb over, all of that. As you let the air out of the tire, your contact patch is going to be like this, and then as you let the air out, you're going to widen that contact patch. So what it's going to do is it's going to give you more stability out on those rocks. So picture yourself when you're standing with both of your feet together. You're a little bit tippy, but as soon as you widen your feet, now you can get that stability that you're looking for within your tire. What it also does is it allows that tire to flex and roll over that rock and really envelop the rock and help you with the climb. With the KM3, we actually have what's called the linear flex zone. So if you look right here, you see a natural line right here. So when this airs down and a rock is there, what it does is it allows that tire to just wrap itself around that rock, which is going to give you added traction, more stability. And then also when you're in those really bad rock sections, that's when you have to worry about a puncture. And so if you let some of the air out and air down the tire, think about when you were a kid and you had a balloon and you blew it up halfway. You could take a needle and push it, and you can get a little bit into that balloon before it'll actually pop. Now if you take that same balloon, blow it all the way to its fullest, and it's nice and tight, you just barely touch it and you're gonna pop it with that same needle. So it's the same concept as that, and it just allows the sidewall to be able to absorb and do its job and absorb those sharp areas, rocks, roots, whatever it is, and allow the tire to work itself around those things rather than cutting it. So we've talked about like fire roads, we've talked about like more aggressive terrain. The other thing is once you get off of that trail, gotta remember to air back up, because if you don't do that, what happens is, let's say you only let out 10, 15 pounds because you're just on a fire road and you were just getting a little cushion. Well, then you get back on the highway, and as you're going, the vehicle is going to basically, the sidewall of the tire is going to flex, and it's going to absorb any of those movements that you're having, and ultimately it's going to build up friction, and friction is heat. As the heat inside the tire expands, then you start having a situation where you can have a blowout because it's now creating too much friction and too much heat, and it raises the PSI of the tire to a level that you don't want it to be at and exceed it. You know, there's a couple of different ways that you can air down your tire. So you take valve stem cover off right here. They make a whole lot of really cool tools. You can still use an old pencil gauge. If you look at a pencil gauge, a lot of people don't realize this, but on one side is where you put it in. You flip it over and there's a little nub on there, and that is to actually fit right in, and that's how you can do, you can let the air out. Now that's really designed to do it just a little bit at a time to fine tune where your air is. Now, a tool like this is a rapid deflator. And so what you do is you take this, and a lot of people get super nervous when they see this, or they see some guy pull this out and they're doing it and they're like trying to watch to see how to do it. So you have a couple of different mechanisms there, but you take this first one and you just screw it all the way on, so until it stops. And you see that I'm doing this one. So now this one right here, you just kind of let it sink in and you'll feel some resistance on it, and then you just start pulling it out just like that, and then you take it off. They also make really cool things that are spring loaded, and you set them at a certain PSI, and you just screw it on and it will let it out until that spring reaches the tension that you've set it at. And that's a way that you can kind of do all four at one time. It's a lot faster. You just have to know that that's the pressure that you're going to go down to every single time. Whereas this, each time I can change it depending on the situation. So the final thing that I always get is, you know, asking how low can I go, and how low should I go? So the first thing that I'll say is when you talk about how low should I go, only as far as you need to. So if you're going on a fire road, you know, a lot of times we think, okay, well, if a little is good, then a lot is even better. So if I should only be at, you know, 35 pounds, maybe if I go down to 25 or 15, then it would be even better. And that's not necessarily true. You just need to figure out for that particular situation, how far do I need to go? So when I go on a fire road for something like this, you also have to think about how much weight am I carrying? Do I have 4 people in this vehicle? Do I have 4 things of gear? Have I loaded up for food for a week? Do I have my Snowmaster refrigerator loaded up? You know, all of these things. And if I do that, now the amount that I can air down is going to be changed because my truck is so much heavier. So you always have to know what your weight of the vehicle is, in general speaking. So like once you figure out, you know, your rooftop tent, your bumpers, all that stuff, get a good idea of it, and then you can adjust it based on how many people are with you and how much gear you're carrying. You always have to make sure that you don't let it out more than what that vehicle can, or more than what that vehicle needs, because if you do that, then you're more susceptible to tire damage on things like rocks and stuff, because now you've got all of this weight pushing down and that tire is stretched to its limits. So again, last thing I'm gonna leave you with, make sure you air back up before you get off the trail and head back. So have some type of onboard air, whether it's a travel one, whether it's one that's hard mounted in, whether it's your buddies, whatever it is, but just go out, be prepared, knowing that you're gonna air down, that you need to figure out how you're gonna air back up, because what can happen is, as you go through heat cycles, like we talked about earlier, even if it doesn't damage it that time, you could do inner damage to the carcass, and then you may have a blowout 2 months later because of that. So, enjoy the trail.
All right, so there you go. There's everything you ever want to know about airing down your tires when you go off-road. Thanks to BFGoodrich for that information. What do you guys think? Do you guys air down your tires? Do you sometimes just kind of let it go and you notice that you got a rougher ride and maybe puncture a tire every once in a while? So let us know if you learned anything. If you have anything else to add to the conversation, please let us know in the comments. We want to thank you as always for watching. We have other videos here to the right, and we please ask you to subscribe if you like what you see. And otherwise, we will see you down the road.